Welcome to another episode of the Forgotten Athlete Podcast. I'm here as your host, Joseph, here with Zachary, co-host. How you doing today?
Man, I'm doing great. There's a lot of sports going on with the draft. Uh, the NBA playoffs
Oh
have
wow, we do have NBA
NHL playoffs.
playoffs popping up. Yeah,
But
sorry, my bad.
so yeah, a lot of stuff going on. So I'm in a great mood.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. I think I think even the series that I haven't even watched. Oh, actually, that's tomorrow. So there's one NBA series that's going on between the Magic and the Cavs. I have not watched 1 second of, and
Yeah,
because every game has been bad, but Magic tied it up 2-2, I guess. So I
they
thought
blew
the
up.
Cavs were going to sweep them. Yeah, they blew them out two times, like by 20 points. So that series is very weird. But we got some stuff to talk about today. So we're gonna kind of recap the NFL draft, and then after the NFL draft, we'll kind of go into what teams what was the biggest surprise of the NFL draft, and then I think lastly we'll go into just the NBA playoffs and possibly someone being a new face of the league. But yeah, let's talk NFL draft. NFL draft was this Thursday, well, this past Thursday,
This past, yeah.
and a lot of stuff happened today. And by the way, I'm in a new place, so my posture may not be the best. I may be leaning in here, so if you see my big forehead, I apologize. But pretty much the NFL draft was pretty much one of the. I mean, this is probably it definitely did not meet expectations in terms of the trades until like later on in the first round, because everybody thought that we like Diane Rossini, she had posted so many teams were trying to get into the top 10, but I guess no teams were budging. And then you had the Falcons say, hey, we're not budging because we want to draft the quarterback, even though we have $100 million quarterback. So obviously Caleb Williams, he went number one, Jaden Daniels number two, Drake May number three, Marvin Harrison four, Joe O five, Malik Neighbors six. So there's a couple of things we want to kind of do here for a bit. First off, I guess my question for you, and then I'll answer it as well. What's the biggest surprise to you in terms of just draft pick, not team? Because we'll get the team in a second here, but draft pick wise, what was the biggest surprise for you?
The biggest surprise. I mean, I would have to say Penix going in the first, going to the Falcons in the first 8 picks.
Mm,
Um, I thought he was not going to get past the Raiders. I think that's what my my original thoughts were going into the draft. He was my second favorite quarterback, to be honest. And because just the way he throws the ball, it's like pretty cool when he throws downfield. Everything seems like a bullet pass almost. He
yeah.
doesn't lack for touch or
His
arm
arm
strength.
does not
My
move. His arm does not move at all.
Yeah,
It's like 90 degrees.
and then the ball placement, at least in the college games you watch, like my original thought watching him in the playoffs was he's Tua. I call it a black Tua. And then when I watched him again, like during the time when I'm looking for my fantasy stuff, so I'm like, okay, where can I get a quarterback value? I'm not taking Caleb one. Penix, I was watching this dude, and he throws the ball like uh only what comes to my mind with aggression, like downfield. There's like no touch. It's not Tua. I'm questioning, is it gonna get there? Is it gonna get there? And often Tyreek Hill is like waiting for it. When the dude from Washington spun it, man, the ball was there. Like you didn't have any doubt the ball was going to get to his
Yeah.
target. It was absolutely incredible how accurate downfield he was. Um, I know teams kind of knocked him for the championship game, rightfully so, but just to see the Falcons who spent $180 million on Kirk, and it seemed like Kirk was the guy, and they're building for, hey, the division's easy. We're
Yeah.
focusing on getting to the NFC title game. Like that's the mentality that I felt that was out here in Atlanta, right? And then when they made the Penix pick, it just was like, hold on, you're not all in on Kirk. That's what it kind of got to me. But from our conversation maybe 3 weeks ago, like I said, if someone's ranked high on your board and he's the best player available, and you look and you're like, all right, we have Penix here, the defensive player that everybody wants is down here. Penix is available. I feel like you got to take him, unless he's Patrick Mahomes. You got to take him. And Kirk Cousins, he can throw you out of some games, and when he's in that funk, you can bring someone in now. It just tells your team you're already set go on winning the games.
Yeah, I think the Penix one was very surprising. Just to kind of go off of that, and I'll give my surprise pick. But the Penix one was very surprising to me. It's just I did not see a team investing so much in a quarterback and then saying, "Hey, you know what? Actually, let's let's uh, let's uh, let's insurance. Let's put insurance on our bet. Like when you're playing blackjack, the dealer has a king, and you're like, oh, he may have an ace under it. Like, let me go ahead and put insurance on them just in case this is actually a blackjack. Um, Honestly, it just depends on how everything kind of plays out with everything. With the situation with the Falcons as we
Can
see it,
can I chime in?
yep.
Now, keep in mind, Raheem Morris, he came from the Los Angeles Rams. They won the Super Bowl. The next year, Stafford ended up getting hurt, right? And then that's when you saw a whole they had a bunch of quarterbacks. Baker
Yeah.
Mayfield even was part of that, right?
Yeah,
And you saw
they were a
team,
QB audition team.
their team went from hey, we're playoff contentions to like bottom of the NFL because the lack of the quarterback position.
But
And then
also
when you sign up for Kirk, when you sign up for Kirk too, you saw the Vikings. They were down. Kirk brought him up. He got hurt. They went down again. So I think if you're looking at that, you're like, I don't want to be stuck in a position where we have nobody that can come in
but
and play for us.
but historically, just looking at all the teams that have been successful in this league, these teams rarely ever like hedge on their bet in terms of who is their quarterback. Like we've seen the Patriots, the Chiefs. I mean, we've seen so many teams just. I'm just talking about a recent memory, and even honestly, even the Niners. Honestly, I mean, for the most part. Now, obviously, during those Jimmy G years, they didn't draft Jimmy. They didn't draft anybody to replace Jimmy G until the Trey
They
Lance
drafted Trey
situation.
Lance.
No, but that was like 4 years into the Jimmy G era, though. It wasn't like they signed Jimmy G and then they drafted Trey Lance in the same year. It was after they had gone to the Super Bowl because multiple NFC championship games, and then they're like, okay, we need a new quarterback. But like you don't really see teams who are successful and are winning do stupid moves like this because what it does for me is that
You gotta, but look at the big
you're
picture,
doing
though,
you're
Joseph.
hear me out. Let me talk. What you're doing is you're putting yourself in a hole. It's either you're making a bet on Kirk Cousins, say, hey, Kirk Cousins is our guy, and we're gonna
But
draft
what
and
if
build
Kirk?
around him.
What if Kirk gets hurt
Then
into the
you
season,
then
right?
you don't sign Kirk Cousins. You
Okay,
don't
you
sign
don't
Kirk
sign Kirk
Cousins.
Cousins.
Why
Okay, but
why,
you got to
why would you
understand.
sign Kirk Cousins? Why would you
I'm
sign
getting
Kirk
there.
Cousins
They
knowing
have
that
they
hey,
keep in mind.
we're
Keep
gonna
in
draft
mind.
Penix.
They
We're gonna
have
have
to
a quarterback.
pay. Keep in mind. If you're the Atlanta Falcons, you have to pay Kyle Pitts this season, Drake London the next, Bijan Robinson's contract coming up. You need to find out can these guys play and at which level because Drake London's going to want Amon
$100 million,
St.
yeah.
Brown monies, right?
Yeah.
You have Kyle Pitts who's going to want
Travis Kelce money.
Hawkinson money.
Yeah.
You have all these guys that are going to want top dollar, and you don't know if they can play top dollar level. Yeah, you have Kirk that can help them get to that level, but if Kirk gets hurt, now you're backwards. You're like, I don't want to pay you, but I feel like I have to. But when you have
That's a good point. That's a good
if you have
point.
Penix, he can come in, and you're like, cool.
You're doing the
We're
same
gonna
thing
find
pretty
out.
much. Yeah.
Can you guys
You're
play?
doing the same thing with Desmond
Because
Ritter.
you want your money, and like that's
Yeah.
Desmond Ritter. You know, we saw what that we saw
Yeah.
what that was. Now, and then if you say, hey, trade back and get him again, if the Falcons were going to trade back, we both agree, right, that the Raiders were going to get him at 13. So where do they fall back where they can still pick up this guy? So I feel like they were in a. I think I love when people have an opinion and they go full into their opinion, and then we get to see how it all plays out. Because if Kirk Cousins comes in and he doesn't play good, if he struggles, you have somebody there that is the 8th pick overall, and he's proven for a long time that he can play football at a high level. Because if you even go back to when he was at Indiana, he was a baller.
Yeah.
So
I guess we'll see. I mean, only history will let us know like what move was made because
that's the fun part of the NFL.
What if the Falcons win the Super Bowl next year?
Kirk Cousins might lead them to. Kirk Cousins could lead them to a 17-0 season. They go to the Super Bowl, and then it's like, okay, that was a dumb pick, but hey, Kirk Cousins just got himself to the Hall of Fame.
So But you know, Joel Clack, he was all like, he was so mad because he was on the Rich Eisen show, and he was
I
talking
did
about.
catch that.
He was like, he was like,
He says
he was like, he
Penix
should
shouldn't
just,
even sign.
yeah, yeah. He was like,
He was
he
looking for
should not
ways Penix
sign
to
at
get
all.
out of it.
I'm just like, and then Rich Eisen's like, well,
So
you can't do that in the NFL.
I read my research. Actually, you can. The player cannot sign because both parties have to agree to the contract,
Yeah.
right? And if Penix doesn't reach a deal, he can't play this year. The team has his rights for this year, but he can enter the draft next year.
Wow. So
Yeah, you know,
so
Bo Jackson.
I I thought I thought the Bo Jackson rule made it so you couldn't do that.
No, Bo
So
Jackson got
so
signed by the drafted by the
Buccaneers,
Buccaneers.
yeah,
I'm not going. He ended up playing baseball or something, right?
yeah,
And then
yeah.
came back in the draft the following year. And Raiders took him.
Wow.
He said, "I'll
I
play."
mean, I mean, what
Now,
if
jokes
Penix
on
does
him,
that?
right? Because he ended up getting hurt,
Because
right? And never.
okay, so what's going to happen with this? Because I want to keep this conversation going for
Same thing with if you look
about
at
2 more minutes. So what if Penix? Because Kirk Cousins isn't going to be ready to throw until training camp. So during OTAs, during like the pre-training camps, these receivers, tight ends are going to need someone to throw to. And Penix may go in there and turn heads and be like, "Oh my gosh, this guy can throw the ball." And all the players love him.
Joseph, he's 24. He's 24, 25 years old. It's not like he's a 21-year-old kid coming in here who's like, "Oh shucks, I made it." Like Drake May is probably going to the building. "Oh shucks, I made it."
Yeah.
Like, Tom Brady used to practice there. I have Tom Brady's old locker. And this is all getting to his head. Jacoby's a starter, right?
Yeah, he does not give a crap about anybody right now.
Penix is going to come in as an adult. He's going to be able to, talk to 30-year-old people a little differently than a 21-year-old because he's 25. He's not too far. He's not too young for these guys, but then he's not too old for the 21, 22-year-old guys. Yeah. So I'm excited to see what the Falcons do. I'll tell you this: pre and post draft, I still think they're the favorite to win the division. Even if they wasted
Falcons
a pick
are the favorite
on the first
to win
round.
Division.
Like,
yeah, I mean, I think
you're not trusting Young.
I would trust
Baker
right now.
I would trust 2 years in a row.
Right now, I put the Buccaneers ahead of them, but it's almost even odds, honestly, like between them and the Falcons. My surprise, because I got to give mine. So my surprise,
let's run it,
is actually the Chiefs getting Xavier Worthy. I was very surprised at this pick, and it's not because of the talent of Xavier Worthy. It's not because of that, but the playoff run kind of exemplified that Rasheem Rice was the number one, right? Shout out to Andy Reid. And Travis Kelce is going to be that guy, and then they bring in Hollywood Brown, and then so I guess my theory was like, my thing is like, hey, like, why wouldn't they just try to bring in more? Why would they try to bring in like a top level cornerback to replace Snead, right? And then draft draft a receiver third or even the second round. I did not see them getting Xavier Worthy, and it could have been one of those situations where like, hey, this is too good to be true. This guy's still on the board at 28. We got to trade up and get him. And what's even more shocking is the Bills giving them the pick. And I don't know if you heard Belichick, because everybody's like on the McAfee show was like, why did they trade the Bills? Why did the Bills trade the Chiefs? And Belichick was all like, listen, as a GM, you can't think, oh, how am I improving this team? And it's like, you got to think, how am I improving my team? And it was just like, okay, that does make sense. Like, you're not really trying to make it so, oh, this team is going to make better. No, I mean, even when you're doing trades on like video games, you don't think, oh, how is the team going to make this other team better? You're just not. You're just thinking, hey, this is going to benefit me.
Well, there's two parts to it, in my opinion, right? I think the first part is the Chiefs have a draft board. Every team has their own draft board. We don't know how these guys are ranked, right? So if you're the Bills and you're talking to them, people are like, hey, did the Bills know he was going to draft, Chiefs were going to draft Worthy? Even if they were, right? Who's to say? I don't know. Anyone have the Bills draft board? They might have had Keon Coleman ranked higher.
They for sure had Keon Coleman ranked higher. Yeah.
Well, I don't know what they
had to have. They had to have.
Right? Well, I'm saying, if they have him ranked higher or ranked maybe a spot or two below, right? It's like, wait, we can trade back, still get our guy, and then we can get some more people to help out. Yeah, because we know they had a lot. We talked about it, Joseph. They lost a lot of people on defense. They lost Stephon Diggs on offense. Like, this team's going to look totally different. So it make it for me. It made sense on both sides. The Chiefs, um, the second part of that deal is, if the guy fell to you and he's falling, you saw the Niners ended up selecting a receiver,
Yeah,
right?
Ricky
And someone else got a
Purcell.
receiver too, right?
Well, it was afterwards, but yeah, to your
But
point,
yeah, but so you
everyone
knew
was
other teams were
drafting
coming, so
receivers.
they had to trade up to get their guy.
Yeah,
And after
I think the
last
Niners
year,
would
you
have. I
saw
don't. Go ahead. Sorry, my bad.
sorry, with Mahomes last year, you saw the frustration boil so much when it
But
came to
yeah,
the receivers,
yeah, them dropping
specifically
passes.
one guy. I don't want to say his name because he's already in
Xavier
his
Worthy
feelings.
does have drop problems, though. I'm just saying, he does have drop issues, which was a concern
So
for me.
you know what? You know what
Just
I'll say to that? You know what I'll say to that? So did MVS until the AFC championship game they needed him. He caught the ball when it came to the Super Bowl. He caught the ball. When these guys need
they
to,
told
they know for a
MVS.
fact my entire life is on the line. Mahomes' legacy is on the line. I can't drop this. So
Yeah,
Xavier Worthy
they
will be fine. But
trying to
scheming up, man.
see.
I feel like the biggest gainer in this though is Pacheco. And then also Kelsey.
I
Kelsey
mean,
might play 2-3 more years. I thought this
I
was gonna be
don't.
Kelsey's retirement
I
tour.
don't know.
He's
My
dude,
thing with
Kelsey's gonna have
my thing with Worthy is he's an incredible route runner. And this is why I was surprised. But he's very similar to Hollywood Brown. They're almost the same player, like identical. And I would say Xavier Worthy probably is the better route runner out of the two if you're just putting them two side by side. But just in terms of their play style, they're both human joysticks, and like to me, that's where I'm just like, but I guess looking at it from another perspective, just from the Chiefs side, saying you give Andy Reid two joysticks. When was the last time he had two joysticks? Jeremy Maclin, Deshaun Jackson. And what did that offense look like? Like that offense was fantastic until Chip Kelly came in and kind of ruined everything. But like when you give this guy two speedy receivers downfield, they're almost unstoppable in terms of their offense. And then also to your point with Pacheco, you don't have to run. Because last year it was a lot of game managing. You would agree, right? There was a lot of them just like managing games, trying to just hey, let's just get through this game and get a W. Just because they didn't have the talent depth to win games by 2, 3, 4 scores like they had before in the past. So now this year, going into the year, you're more saying like, hey, let's run the score up on these guys. Let's try to win by 20. Let's try to win by 15. Let's try to win by 14 consistently every single week. So we're not having to run through Pacheco, because I think that's what happened to Pacheco last year a lot, especially towards the playoff time, like against the Ravens and against the Niners. He kind of struggled a bit in terms of getting upfield, and I think it was just
defensive
him
matchups,
being
Joseph. You can load the box.
Exactly.
Because you're not worried about a deep threat.
Yeah.
Like that's the problem.
Yeah.
And in this year, now you got two deep threats that you have to worry about, right? And then Rashee Rice, when he comes back to work the under, Kelsey too. I mean, it's gonna, and they drafted another tight end too.
The guy from TCU,
Jarrett Wiley, yeah. So I mean,
he's good.
I'm telling you, man. And this Mahomes last year, he kind of like came down to earth to win
you can tell he coasted. He coasted. He coasted.
You can tell it hurt him.
Yeah, he doesn't like
playing the way
like
he played.
Yeah,
I think he really wants to turn up. Like what I mean by that, he wants to throw for 350 yards, throw 3 touchdowns.
Well, because he can.
That's what he wants to do. He doesn't want to.
He could have done that last year with Joe Snow at receiver. Like
he doesn't want to be a game manager.
Guys weren't catching the ball.
You know why I think they made this move too? The Cincinnati Bengals, Joe Burrow, this guy went out talking about we're built to beat the Chiefs. That's what he said. That's what he said. And when you do things like that, Mahomes and Andy Reid, they're on vacation. They're celebrating their Super Bowl still. And then somebody pops in with the newspaper. Hey, have you seen this? Oh, you're built to beat us? Like it does something. I'm just saying, man, it does something to you when they're like, okay, they're built to beat us. Let's go out and really improve. We're not just gonna go slightly improve. We're gonna really improve. And I think that's what because you watch the Brady document, the Patriots dynasty.
Yeah.
What do they do when they suspended, Brady and them? These guys ran off 17-0 or 16-0.
They went off and just blew everybody up by 20 points.
Yeah, it's like sometimes you just gotta let the Giants just be like, we could talk about it later on in more scope, right? But super impressive right now in the NBA. Anthony Edwards. Whenever you watch him interview, he knows he's the baddest. He knows he is, but he
Yeah, but he's
always
not
says
admitting
he
it though.
always says he
Mhm.
always says Cat. He always says Cat. Cat's the best player on offense for us. Cat's the best player. We need Cat.
Yeah.
And it's like that's the type of thing. Don't let's let's control the beast. Let's not make this guy where he's like has any animosity towards me. I'm getting all this like I think that's what just people management, kind of what it comes down to. Being respectful. No one wants to feel
Nah, yeah.
disrespected.
Let's kind of switch topics a little bit just on the draft. But what team do you think had the most successful draft? Just out of the pieces, and if you want, I can answer it too. Because first, just so you can look up some key stats. But which team do you think had the best draft?
You know,
I have my
I'll let you go first because I'm
right.
still debating in my head.
So this team only had 5 picks, and I think
The Bears.
The Bears, yeah, I think the Bears had the best pick, and I think they literally did what everybody thought they should do, and it wasn't the wrong thing to do. Like it just wasn't. If they drafted Caleb Williams, which was the obvious pick, and then they got number 9 pick, Romeo Nduze if he fell. Now I think if Nduze would have fell, I think they would have most likely traded it away and tried to get some more picks. But they did everything the way they were supposed to do. You look at Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen is not going to be there for another year. Most likely, he's probably going to go elsewhere during free agency next year. DJ Moore, great receiver, but he's not like he's okay. I'm not saying he's not because he is a true number 1.
He said he's okay.
No, he's a great receiver. But
he's not Odunze.
He can't do it by himself. So having a Nduze there is going to make it so second year in of Caleb Williams is going to make it a little bit easier to kind of relieve some pressure off of him. But you go into a season where, first off, you go to offseason. Let's just scratch away free agency for a second. You go in the offseason and you have no quarterback, Justin Fields. You have instability on the receiver front. You don't know how your tight end room is looking besides Cole Kmet, and he's not that reliable. So what do? You bring in Gerald Everett, you bring in Keenan Allen, you bring in DeAndre Swift for the running back room to give a little bit more veteran leadership and just knowing how to win. And the draft kind of just made it so, hey, like these guys know what they're doing in terms of Ryan Poles and just kind of trusting the process, because I think for me it was a matter of sorry, and I just lost where the who else did the Bears draft, but to me it was just a matter of Ryan Poles like finally everything coming together. So like in the following rounds after, they got a offensive tackle and he was really great at that pick in the 3rd round, Kyron Armageddon, and then they got one of the best punters, which was, to me, when you watch the Bears last year, their defense played behind the sticks a lot because they had bad field position. So doing this is going to help out that a lot. And then they drafted in the fifth round a defensive lineman to kind of make it so their run defense can be a lot better. So when you look at it from that angle, I think there's a lot of stuff that the Bears could have done wrong. Like they could have reached for a Dallas Turner at the number 9 pick and said, hey, let's just keep on ramping up our defense. But they didn't need to because they addressed it in the free agency. So, and also I was going to put the Panthers here as well, just based upon their free agent signing, and then also our conversation that we had in the chat. But I decided with the Bears just because of they literally hit A's on their first 2 picks, and I can't grade higher than that.
Honestly, I think there's several teams. Like that's why it's hard for me to choose one.
This draft was really good. I think every team did good. I think I should have said that first, but every single team did good. The only team that kind of sucked to me, based on like a win now position, were the Cowboys. But if you're talking about future wise, like they got a lot of depth.
I have no clue what the Cowboys did with their draft. I'm not like, I just I just wish somebody would be like, hey, this is what their thoughts were, because I don't
Mm.
understand it. You
Yeah,
lost Tony Pollard,
I need
and
a
I
Cowboy
still who's their
insider.
running
I need a
back?
Cowboy insider.
I don't know who their running back is. They're talking about bringing Zeke back, and I'm like,
If you're a Cowboy
holy
insider and you would love to be on the Forgotten Three
receivers.
podcast,
I'm like, I just don't know what they're doing. I don't know what they're doing.
yeah, I would like to say something real quick. If you're a Cowboy insider and you're listening to this podcast and you would like to be on the podcast or you know a lot about what the Cowboys are operating, we'd love to hear your perspective. But yeah, go ahead, Zach. Sorry, just wanted to throw that.
No,
tidbit in there.
I think that's fine. Someone who I thought like team that stands out is the where we at? Eagles.
Yeah. Oh
My
man,
love. I have a I love
their
Cooper.
draft was amazing.
Cooper
They yeah.
Jean, depending on how you pronounce it. I think he's great. But then they got Klingon Mitchell too, and I'm like, wow, they ended up with. And we talked about what was their biggest issue. Their
Yeah.
secondary got exposed. They redid the whole thing. So you're gonna have guys like that can play all over the field. With Mitchell and Slay on your outside. Cooper can play anywhere. They got the dude who they got from the freaking Lions. I can't think of his name right now. Safety Gardner Johnson.
Gardner Johnson.
So
Yes,
he's
couldn't think
another
of his
guy.
name either.
Play everywhere across everywhere. So man, that defense, I'm excited to watch the Philadelphia Eagles this year. And from my perspective, I think they're the team to beat in that division.
I think the team to be in the NFC, honestly.
I thought the Jets did great. I really did. They had a couple impact players this year, and then also the guy who I felt like was forgotten, Jordan Travis. I'm curious what he does. I know he was fifth round, it's just whatever, but I'm glad he ended up getting drafted because he was having a great season until the injury late last year. I honestly, I know people are hating on the move, but I love what the Raiders did.
Yeah, with the Brock Bowers.
I really do.
Yeah,
Speaking of Brock, because the past several years, the Raiders have just been picking some random guy that's not ranked on people's draft boards to go in the first round.
But it's on their draft board, yeah.
This year, the Raiders said, "Screw all that. We're literally taking best player available," and they got Brock Bowers as their first pick. And I was expecting a reach. I really was. I'm sitting there watching the draft.
With the second pick.
And when they took Bowers, I said, holy smokes, they got this kid. It doesn't fill a need necessarily. But I think it does. I mean, if they go with Aiden O'Connell, he's gonna have the advantage of throwing the two tight ends in Mayer.
Who do you think they go with? Do they go with Minshew or do they go with O'Connell? I think they go with Minshew. Well, at least I'm hoping, because I just traded for Minshew in a fantasy league, so I'm kind of biased here, but just non-biased, like put it aside. I think Minshew hasn't earned the right to have a Baker Mayfield type of trial.
I just think for me, I think who ends up winning, I think going in, I think Gardner's going to probably take first snaps with the first team, but I don't think it's going to be like 90-10, 20. I think it's probably going to be 50-50, to be honest, 60-40.
Whoever can
I could be totally
down.
wrong. Someone correct me. But Aiden, he was the guy last year. And he just wasn't. I beat the Chiefs last year. Like, I beat the Super Bowl champion.
I mean,
the last two, I know how the game played out. I know how the game played out. They didn't score a touchdown in a couple of his starts. I know that.
They didn't score a touchdown after the first. They didn't get a first down, I think, until the fourth quarter.
They scored like 10 touchdowns versus the Chargers. If you take away that game, like, I understand their offense was awful, but he's gonna have the advantage of already throwing to Devontae Adams, Mayer, Jacoby. So I mean, I don't know. I just got a feeling about this Aiden again, and then also the coach too, Pierce. If you hear him talk about the starting quarterback, he always mentions him.
Yeah, it will. I mean, he has to. That's his quarterback. That's his only quarterback on the roster right now, and it's a guy from last year.
Well, Minshew's on there too.
My issue with O'Connell is an issue. I mean, I think it's an issue with a lot of quarterbacks, but O'Connell, he is like from last year. He was a rookie last year, so it's kind of hard to put a lot of like blame on him just because he's just young. But my issue with him is like I don't think he's ever going to develop into a starting quarterback because he can't get over like the little things, like converting just a 1st and 10 like pass, like a screen, like a 1st and 10 like screen pass for 4 yards just to get the chains moving, or like getting a third down when your team needs a third down. There was many times last year where they got down to the red zone and he just couldn't score.
You of Derek Carr.
It was just like Derek Carr, and then he did a touchdown. So
this guy's literally Derek Carr. I was like, Yeah, so I know what you mean there. But and then
Yeah,
also
so
I guess to
I mean,
close
but Derek
out,
Carr has made a career, but so.
I thought the Chiefs had a good draft too.
Yeah.
I'm a homer.
No, I didn't realize. I didn't realize until I was looking at their draft. Until I was looking at the draft board, they got Jaden Hicks.
We sure did.
So for all you guys who watch the Pac-12 or watch Washington State, one of the best defenses in the Pac-12. I think probably second best defense in the Pac-12 after Oregon.
That's not saying much, but sure.
But I probably would say they were a top 35, 40 defense. I don't know how factual that is, but I'm pretty sure just watching them. I know that this guy was a baller, Jaden Hicks. So shout out to you, Jaden Hicks. I think you're going to be a baller, whether you play safety or defensive back, or you play nickel. I think you're going to be a baller and a killer for the Chiefs. I just do the fourth round in that. I just don't see how that guy went to the fourth round, but I'll look at the draft. I'll look at his draft grade because I don't understand how he went fourth round. Okay, cool.
I did want to mention you picked Xavier Worthy to go to the Dolphins in the mock.
I did.
Because
Dolphins
of speed. They heard you. You just got the wrong position. They ended up getting Jalen Wright.
Oh yeah, after running back,
speed.
They got him in the second round, right? So here's the thing with Jalen Wright. Here's the thing with Jalen Wright, and I think it's because Mike McDaniel just goes through running backs like they're like they're like a dollar at or like he just goes through running backs a lot. So like I just think Mike McDaniel needs to do some self observation of himself to figure out, hey, why am I going through 80 running backs in a season? I mean, not that many, but I'm just trying to figure out, like, is Devin I think there is
injury prone.
Yeah,
the other dude they had from the Niners, injury prone.
Yeah, Mostert, yeah. Mostert had one of his best seasons.
The other guy. The other guy.
Yeah, I didn't talk about. I can't think of his name either. But Mostert had one of his best seasons last year. He was 32, I think, 31.
Yeah, broke the record for Dolphins rushing touchdowns.
Yeah, and I can't even get a second round pick from him in fantasy football. That's another story for another day.
Because no one believes it's going to happen again.
Anything else on the NFL? I think we talked about a lot NFL wise. Do you want to talk about the Cowboys, or do you want to kind of just go to the NBA?
Yeah, I mean the Cowboys. I feel like that's a useless conversation.
Yeah.
I
mean, it might get us some clicks. It might get us some clicks.
I do want to get some recognition to Caleb.
Caleb Williams, talking about.
Yeah, and I guess teams are right. His receivers apparently weren't that good. The earliest was like a 6th round draft pick.
7th.
So they're all 7th?
Yeah, I think Brandon Rice was 7th. I
thought he was 6th.
Okay. So maybe he was.
If he was 7th, it's like, yeah, but you see,
I mean, either way, it's still bad.
That's pretty impressive. I think weird because USC.
I'm trying to think.
I thought they were spending a whole bunch of money on NIL.
Mario Williams going into. I don't even know what happened to Mario Williams. Honestly, I don't have no idea what happened to Mario Williams.
USC.
That dude was supposed to be a top.
That thing, it's a
top,
train wreck.
Top 30 pick. Like he was supposed to be a top 30 pick this year. So I don't know what happened to him.
Dude's probably gonna get fired, man.
Talking about Lincoln Riley. Yeah.
No,
so they have this quarterback that and they have this really good.
No, he left. They had the #1 quarterback in the nation.
No.
He left.
That guy is old news. They got a quarterback, some white kid.
The transfer?
No. He played. He sat behind Caleb last year.
He played the bowl game.
The bowl game, yeah.
He broke a record.
Yeah,
playing versus people that weren't playing.
I think he's gonna be a baller. I think he's gonna be a baller. Now I don't know how good he's gonna be, but I think he's gonna be a baller.
And they're in the Big Ten. They're gonna be in the Big
Yeah,
Ten.
this is gonna be fun.
I need to go smacked around.
I need to go to one of these games.
Their defense got lit up by Pac-12 teams.